Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ecker the Brendan Ecker Influence. This is my 11 a.m. show, usually for my politics. I talk about that at 7 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday. We talk about business Monday through Thursday here. Big news: oil markets have crashed, and we're about to look at that. Trump made talks with Iran, but they said, no, that's not happening. That's just not going to happen. We're not talking. We're not doing nothing. That never happened. Trump is not telling the truth. And that is what the Iranian leadership said. And so markets are shifting. However, a lot of money has been pumped back into the stock market. So it looks like we are seeing pretty good stuff happening overall. I mean, there's really no doubt in my mind that when you look at the markets currently, we are going up. There's potential. So there's $2.44 trillion in the market cap for on a coin market cap here. And the Bitcoin price is at $71,466. Ethereum's at $2,181.86. Tether is still where it's at. XRP is at $1.45. Binance is at $646.12. Solana's at $91.54. Tron is at 30 cents. Dogecoin's at 9 cents. Cardano is at 26 cents. Monero's at $359.42. Chainlink is at $9.23. Stellar it looks like it's at 16 cents. And World Liberty Financial is still where it's at as, of course, a stablecoin, right at 99 cents. So the market cap for crypto overall looking pretty hot. It's looking pretty decent. People are investing in crypto. The Fear and Greed Index, we're kind of back to normal on that. It's at 34. It was at 5, like literally 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. But it's looking good, I think. For crypto overall, things aren't looking too bad. I would definitely say that there's still potential. It's not too late to invest in crypto. We do have an emerging market here. So it's rather important for people to be staying on the trends, right? Because look at this. This is good stuff. Okay, this is kind of what you want to see, and it's a good time to invest in these emerging markets. So look at this video by Trump and his statements on it. He kind of expands on it and gives his statement. So, yeah, the Clarity Act and what's going on with that. Also some updates here. Check it out.
The landmark digital assets legislation, the Clarity Act, is still hung up in Washington. Banks have been pushing back against crypto players paying rewards. They're warning clients could pull massive money out of deposit accounts and the traditional banking system to put them on crypto platforms if they believe they can get paid for it. President Trump, meanwhile, criticized the banks this week over what he said that the banks were stalling the bill. Posting to Truth Social,
sure, yeah, that's happening for sure.
The Genius Act is being threatened by undermined by the banks, and that is unacceptable. We're not going to allow it. The U.S. needs to get market structure done ASAP. Yep. Americans should earn more money on their money. The banks are hitting record profits, and we are not going to allow them to undermine our powerful crypto agenda that will end up going to China and other countries if we don't get the Clarity Act taken care of.
Yeah, and when we have actors like Gary Gensler in the market, that's not helping anybody, is it? That's not helping anybody. But that was a big statement by Trump. Here's the oil markets. Check this out. This is insane. Oil markets are just looking wild today, right? So a total crash happened this morning, right? $98 we were at. We're at $100. Then we tanked all the way down here to $88. And now we are even lower. It looks like we're at $87. And I'm honestly wondering if that's because Trump said that talks were made between him and the Iranian leadership, but then the Iranian leadership basically said, no, that never happened. We never had these talks. But this is what happened. This is what we're looking at long term. This is what the prices are looking at. So if you look at the charts over here, compare it to a similar time, well, we're kind of sitting right around here right now. So I think we'll pretty much be balancing out overall, but I still think that I think oil will probably hit at least 200 bucks a barrel. I think that's coming. I don't see the Iran war ending, but let's continue looking at some of these stories here. Bitcoin rebounds to 71,000 as oil drops after Trump signals pause and Iran strikes. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get into this article a little bit. Bitcoin broke back towards 71,000 during Monday's European trading session as U.S. Donald Trump said attacks on Iran's powerful infrastructure would be postponed. Key takeaways are that Bitcoin bounced 5% to 71,000 after President Trump said U.S. attacks on Iran's infrastructure would be postponed. $270 million in short positions was liquidated in 1 hour, and focus now shifts to $72,000 to $75,000 liquidity zones to see if Bitcoin price will rise further to grab these. So what do you guys think is going to come with crypto? Bitcoin especially, who will be the chosen one? Who will be the winner? Will it be Bitcoin? Will it be Ethereum? Will it be XRP? Will it be Solana? Will it be Quant? There's some really good ones in the market here. But when we're looking at all of this, I just see total potential. And this shall henceforth be known as the taco pump, Coin Bureau CEO Nike Puckrin said in response to Bitcoin's reaction following the news. The move in Bitcoin was accompanied by $270 million in short liquidations within an hour, with Bitcoin short liquidations accounting for $120 million. This brought the total liquidations across the crypto market over the past 24 hours to $781 million. So when we look at this, gold erased almost all of its earlier losses, now down just 1% on the day and rebounding to $4,440 per ounce, while the dollar index has slipped to $99.30. Oil, a key macro risk factor, dropped as much as 16% to $92 from an intraday high of $110, while WTI crude dropped below $85, the steepest single-day decline since late 2025. So this is huge. This is huge. I would say that we are at a turning point in the market. I would say there's a lot of big things that are coming, and people should be ready for that. People should be ready for all of the new developments, right? So this is where gold's at, $4,504.70 right now. Silver's at $71.32. Platinum is at $1,923.20. And palladium is at $1,490.60. So as we look at the markets here, Trump says Iran and U.S. both want to make a deal, says they'll talk today. So that was huge, though, because Donald Trump said that the U.S. and Iran held talks, complete and total resolution of hostilities in the Middle East. He said that a result of talks has postponed threatened strikes on Iranian power plants for 5 days. Oil and gas prices fell immediately. However, Iran's foreign ministry denies such talks have taken place, according to BBC's U.S. partner CBC. Trump later said that the U.S. side was represented by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. He said that if the postponement of strikes goes well, we're going to end up settling this. On Saturday night, Trump gave Iran a 48-hour deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or he said the U.S. would obliterate Iranian power plants. So again, this is why I say I don't think Iran is going to back down anytime soon. That's just not going to happen, right? I see this war going on. This war is going to continue. And Trump's just trying to soften the blow in the markets. He's trying to keep the markets balanced. So these statements, this double talk is really what's doing that. But overall, long term, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I just don't see that happening. I think we're going to end up in a longer war with Iran. Trump's latest message is perhaps his most conciliatory since the war began, but it leaves significant unanswered questions. Earlier, the UK's Keir Starmer and Trump agreed that reopening the Strait of Hormuz is essential to resume global shipping during a call late on Sunday, according to Downing Street. So a lot of big things. Price of oil will drop like a rock if a deal with Iran is made, Trump suggests. So, yeah, I mean, of course it would, right? Of course it would. But the issue is that we're sending more troops over to Iran right now, right? All of these things are already happening. We can't pretend like it's not. It is. Those things are happening. Right, oil markets pretty much looking stagnant at the moment. They crashed today a little bit, obviously because of that news, and so who knows what's going to happen. The oil markets are just super fluctuating all the time, so you never really know where they're going to land. But crude oil is down today, like $89.40. So it's a big day. Clarity Act's biggest obstacle just fell. 4 steps still remain. Senators Till and also Brent confirmed an agreement in principle on stablecoin yield Friday, removing the dispute that stalled the Clarity Act since January. The 4 remaining legislative steps now run against the tightest calendar year. Fintech moves fast. News is everywhere. Clarity isn't. So when we look at this, the dispute that stalled the Clarity Act since January has a resolution. Politico first reported on Friday that Republican Senator Thomas Tills and Democratic Senator Angela Alsobrooks had reached an agreement in principle on stablecoin yield, the question of whether or not crypto platforms can reward users for holding dollar-pegged tokens. Also, Brooks confirmed that the deal to Politico directly, describing it as the product of months of work and framing it as a way to protect innovation while preventing the deposit flight that banks had argued yield-bearing stablecoins would cause. Tillis described the negotiations as being in a good place while noting he still intends to review the final text within industry stakeholders before the agreement has formalized. The substance of the deal is consistent with what we had been signaling across weeks of negotiations. Rewards on passive stablecoin balances paid simply for holding a token without any issue associated activity will be prohibited. Activity-based rewards tied to payments, transfers, and platform use remain permitted. Also, Brent's communicators confirmed that the senators plan to share the legislative text with the industry stakeholders before anything is finalized. No text had circulated as of Friday. White House Crypto Council Executive Director Patrick Witt, who has been central to the negotiations, called the development a major milestone on X while acknowledging that further work remains on the unresolved issues. There was his tweet right there. The stablecoin yield question had been a single largest obstacle blocking the banking committee markup since its session was canceled in January. As FinTech Weekly reported on Thursday, the negotiations had simultaneously introduced a new complication. Senate Republicans were discussing attaching community bank deregulatory provisions to the bill as part of a broader legislative trade involving housing legislation. Friday's yield agreement does not resolve that political question. The yield deal also does not close all of the remaining substantive issues in the bill. DeFi provisions remain contested, with several Senate Democrats citing, there you go, keywords there, Senate Democrats citing illicit finance concerns. Ethics language, specifically whether senior government officials should be barred from personally profiting from crypto assets, has not been agreed. Both Brooks' office and the White House acknowledged publicly that ethics and illicit finance provisions still require resolution before the bill can secure a broad bipartisan vote in the banking committee. What Friday's agreement does is clear the path to step one of the 5 in the Clarity Act, which must be completed before reaching the president's desk. Here's the 5 steps in sequence: are a Senate Banking Committee markup and vote, a full Senate full vote requiring 60 votes and therefore meaningful Democrat support, reconciliation of the Banking Committee version with the Agriculture Committee version, which passed in January along party lines, and reconciliation of the combined Senate bill with the House-passed version from July 2025, and presidential signature. Friday's deal advances the conditions for Step 1. Steps 2 through 5 are unchanged. Senator Cynthia Lummis confirmed this week that Banking Committee markup is targeted for a second half of April after Easter recess ends on April 13th. Senator Bernie Moreno has been direct about what comes after. If the bill does not reach the full Senate floor by May, digital asset legislation may not move again before the midterm election cycle renders major legislation politically untouchable. That is huge. So let's read that sentence one more time. Senator Bernie Moreno has been direct about what comes after. If the bill does not reach the full Senate floor by May, digital asset legislation may not move again before the midterm election cycle renders major legislation politically untouchable. That's huge. We need to get the Clarity Act passed, right? As FinTech Weekly mapped against the official 2026 Senate calendar, a late April Banking Committee markup leaves the remaining 4 steps with a window measured in weeks, not months. The yield agreement changes the content picture. It does not change the clock. So, what do I think? I still think crypto is going to be huge. I still think crypto is going to be massive. But as long as we're in a market where we are really just disenfranchising investors every step of the way, right? We are doing Gary Gensler kind of stuff. This is by Deanna Olick. So we're going to break into real estate now real quick, and then we'll talk more about the situation going on with Iran and the oil, and we'll go on X and we'll look at some hot news stories. But as a real estate agent myself, I love to help you guys out with learning what you need to know about real estate, where we're at in the United States economy when it comes to real estate. The spring housing market is on, but mortgage rates just shot higher. Here's what to know. Mortgage rates are now at the highest level since September 2025, rising sharply this week to hit 6.53% on Friday. For the week ending on March 14th, active inventory for homes was up 5.6% year over year. Home prices nationally are basically flat from years ago. So yeah, people are not able to sell their homes right now. Spring is traditionally the busiest season for home sales, and while this year's market dynamics have shifted strongly in favor of buyers, broader forces in the economy are creating significant challenges. The most important factor in any seasons is mortgage rates. They were expected to be lower this year as the Federal Reserve dropped its lending rate to counter inflation, but the war with Iran has turned this on its head. The cost of oil is shooting higher, leading to rising inflation and causing the Fed to reconsider. Then again, of course, we had today where the oil markets crashed, right? But I think you're just going to see those oil markets teetering and tottering. You're going to keep seeing them go up, down. They'll hang between $200 and then it'll go back down to $89. It's going to be completely sporadic and unpredictable, but it's going to be within this fluctuation at least until we're out of this war with Iran. Now U.S. bonds are rising with mortgage rates following suit. Average rate on the popular 30-year fixed mortgage rate had started this year lower, even briefly dipping below 6% at the end of February, but it rose sharply this week to 6.53% on Friday. This the first day of spring, according to Mortgage News Daily. It is now just 18 basis points below where it was a year ago. Higher rates will weigh on affordability, but other factors have flipped the market in favor of buyers. Homes are sitting on the market longer, sellers are increasingly willing to lower prices, and the supply of homes for sale is rising, and albeit is not as quickly as it should be. As the housing market approaches the best time to sell season, it sits in a precarious position caught between the long-term improvements and sudden short-term instability. Jake Krimmel, senior economist at Realtor.com, wrote in a weekly housing trends report, everything seems much more unsettled and uncertain than it did just a month ago. For the week ending on March 14th, active inventory was up 5.6% year over year, according to the Realtor.com, but new listings were down 1.4%. This means the number of homes for sale is climbing not because there are more sellers, but because the homes on the market are sitting. That is because the potential sellers who are expected to put their homes on the market are holding back due to concerns about implications of the Iran war. I think inventory is the bigger decider, said Jonathan Miller, director of markets for Street Matrix, a housing market data provider. The idea that rates are going to noticeably come down this year, I think, is generally off the table. Yeah, I would have to say so myself as a realtor. I think that this Iran war is just going to make things even more unpredictable, even more volatile. Location. Given the disparity of inventory across different markets, this spring is likely to be a tale of many cities. For example, in February, active listings in Las Vegas, Seattle, Cincinnati, and Washington, D.C. were all up over 20% from a year ago, according to Realtor.com. Listings in San Francisco, Chicago, Miami, and Orlando, Florida, meanwhile, were lower than a year ago. Home prices had been cooling off much lower for the past year as they continue to do so. Prices were just 0.7% higher in January than they were in January of 2025, according to Cotality. That's down 3.5% annual growth from the beginning of 2025. Higher mortgage rates, however, are taking away from that improved affordability. The Northeast and Midwest are seeing the strongest price appreciation, led by New Jersey, Connecticut, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Nebraska due to tighter supply in those regions, according to Cotality. Again, if you guys are looking to invest in real estate, work with me, Brendan Ecker. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a message. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. Connect with me, and we'll figure out your situation in real estate. I'm a Michigan real estate investor, so if you're looking to buy or sell or invest in Michigan, let me know. I work with a lot of commercial real estate investors. I work with a lot of luxury real estate investors, particularly, but I also work with residential, but more of my focus is on commercial. So if you're looking to invest in commercial real estate, I can definitely help you out. We'll find you a buyer, we'll get you an open house set up, and we'll get you the place. We'll try to get you a sale. Right, we'll try to get you into your next home. That's the idea, or we'll try to sell your home. Depends on the situation, right? Cotality ranks 69% of top metropolitan housing markets are as overvalued, noting undervalued markets in L.A., New York City, undervalued. I wouldn't say that. L.A., New York City, San Francisco, and Honolulu could see a rebound in prices in 2027. Yeah, I would say those are overvalued. Ultimately, locations with consistent job growth will remain the primary engines for price appreciation, but they also have a larger inventory deficit, which are driving pressure on home prices. Salima Hep, Cotality's chief economist, wrote in a recent report. As for new construction, buyers are likely to see better deals this spring as builders are struggling to unload an oversupply of homes. Inventories hit a 9.7 month supply in January, according to the U.S. Census, as the result of sales falling to the lowest levels since 2022. A growing share of builders cut prices in March, according to the National Association of Home Builders. Affordability for buyers and builders remains a top concern, Bill Owens, chairman of the NAHB, said in a release. Many buyers remain on the fence waiting for a lower interest rate and due to economic uncertainty. Builders are facing elevated land, labor, and construction costs, and nearly two-thirds continue to offer sales incentives in a bid to firm up the market. Construction of a single-family home also dropped in January. While some are blaming rough winter weather for the weaknesses in the new home market, builders are consistently battling affordability for both their customers and their bottom lines. Cost for land, labor, and materials have not been eased. I think it's not going to be an inspiring year for the housing market. Started out with high expectations. I think the war, whatever the outcome, has really dampened the enthusiasm and kept uncertainty really high, according to Street Matrix's Miller. So that's the market on real estate. That's what's going on today on March 20th, 2026, or 23rd, 2026. Hopefully you guys are keeping up on all of that. Again, the NAR released a statement on pre-marketing and coming soon listings. The statement follows a week of policy changes and posturing by major residential real estate companies and portals over the treatment of pre-marketing listings and coming soon statutes. It has been a pivotal week in the world of residential real estate marketing, with the three major real estate living portals making announcements this week and how they'll treat private or coming soon listings. The National Association of Realtors released the following statement. So we'll read this and then we'll move on to the X stories. The American housing market is the most consumer-friendly, transparent, and efficient across the world, in large because of the MLS system. The MLS provides an efficient and reliable marketplace, which allows sellers to market their properties in accordance with their interests and potentially receive the best offer. Likewise, they provide buyers and the ability to learn about as many properties on the market and meet their criteria. The NAR will continue to be a pro-consumer association that champions MLS policies that advance fair housing, ensure equal opportunity to housing, and facilitate transactions that benefit home buyers and sellers. All agents who participate in MLS agree to follow their MLS policies regarding listing standards. Due to the unique needs and characteristics of local housing marketplaces, the NAR MLS policies provide each MLS with flexibility to establish local rules that work best for their brokers, agents, and consumers, including policies regarding pre-marketing efforts. So that's kind of what's going on with real estate. That's the real estate market. You can take a look at this article, read through it a little bit more if you want. Pause the video. I guess, again, Compass drops lawsuit, promises aggressive measure on MLS rules. So really, this is a lot for us real estate agents out there and more stuff we need to know. But hey, again, if you're looking to invest in real estate, work with me, shoot me a DM. We'll work together. I'll help you out with your situation, and we'll get you into your next transaction. So with that being said, let's cover some of what Trump had to say on Iran and some of his statements. These are the big stories on X and some of what he had to say. So let's watch some of these videos.
Well, they're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say.
Again, Iran said that that's not true.
Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. But we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them. They
great.
went, I would say, perfectly. I would say that if they carry through with that, it'll end that problem, that conflict. And I think it'll end it very, very substantially. We have very much...
Yeah, so again, I think... Remember, Iran said that a lot of this is not true. They haven't spoken with Trump and that peace talks are not happening right now. So that's not true.
Our partners in the Middle East, we've had great relationships with a lot of them, as you know. A lot of them were surprisingly hit. And I was surprised to see it, and so was everyone else. But they're very much in mind in the discussions. So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal, too. We're going to get together today by probably phone because it's very hard to...
Yeah, I would hope so.
...find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll, at some point, very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts.
Yep, so that's pretty much what Trump had to say about that. Let's look at a few more clips here from Disclose TV on Twitter. Shout out. Be sure to give them a follow on X. They cover some great news. A lot of the stories that we cover here on my show, we cover them from disclose.tv. They always have the best stories. They have the best news releases, right? So be sure to give them a follow on X. They are posting all the time. They always have good updates. Here's some more statements from Trump on Iran.
We're looking for all of the things that we've been talking about. We want to see no nuclear bomb, no nuclear weapon, not even close to it. low-key in the missile.
Okay, so a lot of people are saying that, well, you know, that's why we're going to war with Iran is because of this, because Iran has a nuclear weapon. Remember, Netanyahu has been saying that for what, 3, 4, or 5 decades now? He's been saying that a long time. So Netanyahu has been saying in our own Congress, to our own Congress, that Iran is trying to build a nuclear missile, Iran's trying to build a nuclear bomb, all of this same rhetoric. He's been saying this same rhetoric for decades. And nothing happened. They never were. Iran was never building a nuclear bomb. They were building a nuclear program. They were enriching uranium. And that is what Trump is saying they're not allowed to do. They need to stop enriching uranium. But geopolitically, that makes no sense because Iran's deterrence to Israel constantly bombing them is to have a nuclear program. So Israel and Trump are trying to destroy that nuclear program so Israel can take Iran along with the other regimes that they're trying to change under that Greater Israel Project.
We want to see peace in the Middle East.
Again, the Greater Israel Project is the agenda of basically 7 regime changes within 5 years. Iran is one of those countries. Syria is one of those countries. Lebanon is one of those countries. I believe it's not Turkey. I think Iraq is one of those countries. And the 5th country, I believe, is Saudi Arabia. So these are the countries that are trying to be taken right now by Israel under this Greater Israel Project, this Pax Judaica, as predictive history calls it. And so this is kind of what we're looking at.
We want the nuclear dust. We're going to want that. And I think we're going to get that. We've agreed to that. Yeah, we've agreed to that.
You want the enriched uranium before you can end this.
And we want no enrichment. But we also want the enriched uranium. If this happens, it's a great start for Iran to build itself back, and it's everything that we want.
I will say, if we do end up winning against Iran, this will help America in a small way, but guess who's really going to win? Israel's going to really win at the end of this. If we are able to topple Iran's government and their regime, which honestly we shouldn't really do because it's not advantageous for other nations. It's really only advantageous for the state of Israel. So, you know, I think a lot of what Trump's saying is doublespeak. I don't think a lot of what he's saying is necessarily true to the fullest degree. I think he's obviously trying to maintain balance in the markets. Again, we had fighter jets get shot out of the sky just this morning, okay, or I think last night. So we're going to cover some of these stories. We're going to look at what's actually happening in the Iran war. And usually from 7 p.m., usually at 7 p.m. every single night, I do a show over on Ecker Geopolitics where we cover all of the Iran war, the biggest stories that are trending on X, and we try to break down the geopolitical aspects of what's going on. Again, that's the Ecker Geopolitics channel every night, Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. For this show, daily news on business, AI, real estate, oil, money. We cover this kind of stuff at 11 a.m. Monday through Thursday every day. So tune in, subscribe, smash that subscribe button.
Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, all of them, Kuwait and Bahrain in particular. So it's great for all of them.
Yeah, because they're not going to get bombed by Israel and Iran. Yeah, maybe some more statements from Trump. Just a couple more videos here, and then we'll keep going on what's happening in the algorithm. But important to cover this stuff.
Well, you reach a ceasefire agreement with Iran. Do you believe Israel would abide by that agreement?
No.
I think Israel will be very happy with what we have. We just spoke to Israel a little while ago. I think they'll be very happy. This will be peace
They won't.
for Israel, long-term peace, guaranteed peace. If this happens, and I can't guarantee it, but I think it's going to. My life is a deal. That's all I do is deals my whole life. I think this is something that's going to happen. And why wouldn't it happen? So tomorrow morning sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plant
Okay.
that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. And it's got to be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons anymore. They're agreeing to that. Any of that stuff, there's no
Sorry
deal.
about that, guys. Didn't know we were frozen there. Again, Trump claims he is negotiating directly with a top person in Iran and not a supreme leader, Khamenei. So let's take a look at this.
Phase 1, phase 2, and largely phase 3. But we're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader. You know, it's a little tough. We've wiped out everybody.
Is that the Supreme Leader?
No, not the Supreme Leader. We don't.
Not much
Well, nobody heard of the second Supreme Leader, the son.
Are these direct?
We have not heard from.
Yeah, and apparently Khamenei, his son, Khamenei's son, is basically in a coma, from what we've heard, and I think he lost a leg in one of the U.S.-Israeli strikes. And then we've also heard, of course, that Netanyahu was killed, but we've been seeing him release a couple videos, so of course maybe Netanyahu's not killed. We don't really know. What we do know is that there is a narrative being spun. There is a psyop being played. Whether or not Netanyahu's dead, I think what's most important is to focus on what's happening today. We need to focus on statements that he is saying, anything that is coming out of the Knesset, and these kind of things for sure.
The son. Every once in a while you see a statement made, but we don't know if he's living. But the people that seem to be running it, and they seem that based on really fact, because things they've said have taken place.
Mr. President,
Again,
Mr.
President, I know you've deployed. Because I don't want him to be killed.
Huh.
Okay, I don't want him to be killed.
Mr. President, you've deployed.
Nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants that job right now. You know, nobody's exactly looking forward to being the head of that particular country. But perhaps we'll be able to solve that problem.
Interesting. So big statements from Trump that he wants to continue the war with Iran, essentially. That's basically what that means, right? Is that he wants to keep that fight going, wants to really just continue doing what Israel wants him to do. So that's a little scary, a little concerning, definitely not the greatest thing that we could see here. And so here's some statements from the Twitter X algorithm. Let's kind of look and see what everybody else is saying about it. Okay, what do you have to say about the markets? What do you have to say about the Clarity Act? What do you have to say about the oil markets? What do you have to say about the war with Iran? What do you have to say about Netanyahu? Do you think he's alive or dead? Do you think the videos that were released of him are AI? I think that they are. Many of them are. But I also think that that was a psyop. I think he could be alive. Maybe he faked his death. Maybe he's alive and he's just, again, maybe they're just trying to, troll the masses at the same time. Everything is a psyop when it comes to World War III. Just never forget that. We are in a psyop, and that is what it is. Everything is a psychological warfare campaign when it comes to World War III. At least the first stages and phases of World War III is a psyop, right? So this is why we cover the markets. We cover everything when it comes to business, finance, money, all of it. It's rather important that we are covering these issues, okay? So let's take a look at this video.
Total financial collapses here, and watch this video till the end if you care about your investments or your money in general. So first of all, we have largest natural gas plants in Qatar and Iran actually struck. This means that the inflation is going to be going up. Federal Reserve, and in general, the market is not expecting more rate cuts in 2026. So the rates are going to stay higher for longer, which means that the U.S. cannot refinance its debt without going bankrupt. Then we have the bond yields in UK up to 5% yield, higher in the first time since 2008. Same thing in US bonds. The bond yields are going higher even though they were reducing the interest rates. It's absolutely incredible. The system is absolutely breaking. Now, I'm not even talking about the situation in Iran and all the strikes.
Yeah, I definitely think that a financial reset just might be coming.
And the fact that Russia is saying that they're about to get involved with this as well. And, well, Strait of Hormuz is closed, which is causing the oil to go up, which is going to cause the inflation to go up. And then we have Trump's tariffs that will cause the inflation to go up. And right now, Donald Trump is threatening there's still 15 hours left until the ultimatum runs out. So the United States is going to strike the Iran's power plants. And then Iran said...
I absolutely think that's going to happen. I think Trump will strike Iran's power plants, and it's going to cause oil to go way over $200 a barrel. So people should be invested in oil.
Going to retaliate in the same way across the Gulf region, which is going to cause more problems, more inflation, and just escalation of this entire situation in the Middle East. And that's not all. We also have this right here, which is Google Trends, which says help with mortgage. People are searching this on Google. This was 2008. This is the current situation.
Wow.
People cannot sell their houses, and the entire system is about to collapse. The only thing, if you look at the charts, you're going to really quickly realize that S&P 500 is crashing. And if you look at even gold, this piece of shit is crashing. Silver is crashing. And Bitcoin, I mean, if you pay attention, it's gone down, but it seems like it priced in most of the drop, hopefully, and it's actually hanging on quite well. At some point, the world will realize that the only way out is Bitcoin. Just wait and see.
I think that's a really true statement he just said. He just said people need to realize that Bitcoin's your last chance. Okay, so what did he mean by that? Well, let's explain. Peter Thiel sold a lot of his shares in Palantir. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, he also sold a lot of shares in NVIDIA. So why are they doing this? Why are these CEOs selling all their shares in the stock market? Well, there's something coming. And I think a massive crash is coming. And I think what's going to happen with the Clarity Act and everything we've covered in this episode, I think what's going to be happening is a financial reset. And they're going to be transferring everything over to crypto because I just can't understand what else is Trump's plan with all of this, right? What is the plan with $38 trillion of debt now? What is the plan with all of it? Well, he's going to, in his own words, Trump's own words, he said, we're going to write them a little crypto check. That's for the debt he had made that statement for. And so, again, let's keep looking at some of the markets here and what's actually going on today. Watcher Guru posted just 1 hour ago, over $900 billion added to the U.S. stock market at open. Digital asset investor, let's take a look at this. This is Gary Gensler doing his rounds. Turns out he started his own podcast called Power and Consequences. The irony is he's never had any consequences for his behavior. So that is true. The Gary Gensler, if you didn't know, is the reason that the XRP lawsuit is in existence today, or why it happened. And this guy is basically the reason the entire crypto market was held up for years. Again, suing Ripple, going after Ripple, when Ripple was the company who actually firsthand came in and said, hey, we want to be legit. We want to be the first real cryptocurrency company, the real blockchain company that runs off of the bank's payment systems. And this is the guy that basically thwarted everything for a long time and held up the entire lawsuit and just really crushed the entire incentive of the crypto market. So let's listen to what he has to say today.
Crypto, have we gained any clarity on who is regulating it, who should regulate it, to what degree should it be regulated? Where are we on that?
I think those are going to be questions that you'll have for my honored successor, Paul Atkins, and others. But the American public, they seem to be even more focused on prediction markets than crypto right now. So the investing public, I'm not saying they've moved on, but there's been a new door.
She's like, I'm not saying people have moved on. Yeah, they have moved on. They have to move on. They have to go to different alternative markets to make money, Gary, because you crushed their ability to make money in this market, Gary. And so these people, this is the way they think. Nothing can ever be done when it comes to these SEC people. It's never their fault.
Whirling at this little casino.
One of our colleagues at Bloomberg Television was just interviewing the CEO of one of these prediction markets and adamant that it is not gambling. And it's not betting.
There's no gambling in this town, right? No.
Come on, and I'm not going to blame this on you, but I'm sorry. There's this huge thing. I got to make some news this morning. Do you look at these prediction markets as gambling, Mr. Gensler?
Oh, parts of it are, sure. Look, there's parts of it that is just hedging economic risk.
I mean, that's kind of a stupid question because obviously betting on the poly market is gambling. You are effectively gambling in a small way. I mean, that's true.
But now you go all the way over to the sports world. And the sports world, that's just gaming. It is.
I'm going to go mental here. Raphael Auer at the Bank of International Settlements has written the smartest stuff I've seen on a broader statement of Bitcoin. They did a paper, 8 single sentence, single spaces, 8 pages of detail on the speculation within these markets. I mean, it's basically a casino, like people voting against Duke in basketball. I don't see Penn in the. Did you see the University of Pennsylvania in the bracket?
Hey, wait. That's my alma mater.
Yeah, I know. Beating Yale.
Did you see this?
I saw them.
Are you in the second or third row at the game?
I don't want to give that up, Tom. But look, I mean, investors can be taking a bet on things even when they're betting on an individual stock.
Right.
But there are parts of the prediction markets and there are parts of the cryptocurrency markets that are just pure speculation. And so, how do we protect the investing public in those worlds?
See, there's that language again. During the SEC lawsuit against Ripple, Gary Gensler was saying this. How do we protect the investor? Well, the best way to protect the investor is to never allow them to invest. The best way to protect an investor is to make sure that they are never able to invest. And by doing that, we need to change the laws so that you are never allowed to invest, and that, we make very valuable currencies worth nothing because we call them a security instead of a currency. See, this is kind of how these people really are.
How do we protect the investment public in prediction markets or in the cryptocurrency markets? And importantly, how do we protect the integrity of the underlying, the elections? How do we protect the integrity that government actors aren't leaking information so that you can make a bet in prediction markets?
Okay, so Alexis's great-grandmother took Bitcoin from 30,000 up to 110,000.
Your great-grandmother?
I love that. That makes me about 3 years old.
And Gary, come on, we've gone from 110,000 whatever on BitDog back down to where are we? 74,000
yeah, sure.
today. Should 401k, should IRA, should grandmas be playing with these fancy things where we question the underlying?
Look, we let the investing public invest. We're merit neutral. That's our system. I believe that's a good system. However, we sort of have to have transparency. We have to have market integrity.
Right.
And we have to make sure that people protect those
just
investors.
never forget that this guy was very much for Hillary Clinton, and he was on her same campaign. So really tells you exactly where his head is at.
That they're not getting picked off.
So that's kind of what's going on with Gensler's statements there. Let's listen to this little clip.
Legislation, the Clarity Act, the landmark digital assets legislation, the Clarity Act is still hung up in Washington. Banks have been pushing back against crypto players paying rewards. They're warning clients could pull massive money out of deposit accounts and the traditional banking system to put them on crypto platforms if they believe they can get paid for it. President Trump, meanwhile, criticized the banks this week over what he said that the banks were stalling the bill, posting to Truth Social, quote, "The Genius Act is being threatened by undermined by the banks, and that is unacceptable. We're not going to allow it. The U.S. needs to get market structure done ASAP. Americans should earn more money on their money. The banks are hitting record profits, and we are not going to allow them to undermine our powerful crypto agenda that will end up going to China and other countries if we don't get the Clarity Act taken care of."
Should have been taken care of a long time ago.
Landmark digital assets legislation, the Clarity Act, is still hung up in Washington. Banks have been pushing back against crypto players paying rewards. They're warning clients could pull massive money out of deposit accounts and the traditional banking system to put them on crypto platforms if they believe they can get paid for it. President Trump, meanwhile, criticized the banks this week over what he said that the banks were stalling the bill, posting to Truth Social, quote,
and so ultimately that's kind of like the biggest problem right now with the Clarity Act and what's going on with it is just like they're not letting it pass. They're not letting any of this stuff happen. American F-15 fighter jet being shot down in Kuwait's skies, according to the Mer News. So look at that video. That's pretty wild. So this is the stuff they're not going to tell you on Fox News right now. I mean, we are not winning this war in Iran. We're getting killed. Our soldiers are getting smoked, literally out of the sky. So it's not looking good for the United States and Iran. We really shouldn't be in that war, in my opinion. I don't think we have any business being there. Cointelegraph rumors are circulating that a tentative deal has been struck between the White House and U.S. lawmakers on stablecoin yield and other news, according to Hodler's Digest via Cointelegraph magazine. Breaking Trump market manipulation exposed 3 days ago. We want to talk with them, and there's nobody to talk to. We like it that way.
We're having a hard time. We want to talk to them, and there's nobody to talk to. Their leaders are all gone. The next set of leaders are all gone. And the next set of leaders are mostly gone. And now nobody wants to be a leader over there anymore. We're having a hard time. We want to talk to them, and there's nobody to talk to. We have nobody to talk to. And you know what? We like it that way.
I don't know.
Their leaders are all gone. The next set of leaders are all gone.
Not great.
And the next set of leaders are
not great. I mean, great for America, I guess. I mean, America, I would say, is still winning, but the longer we are in the Middle East and the Strait of Hormuz, I don't see us winning. It just gets worse and worse the longer we're there.
The last regime, I would imagine some of the people are the same. This is the president's take on that, insisting that it's regime change more than any one person. The president went on to say or insist that this is regime change. because it's totally different people that were involved.
Not good.
In the
Not good. So again, Trump confirmed that it is a regime change that's being done in Iran right now. Again, this is the Greater Israel Project. This is what is being attempted, right? So what do you guys think is going to happen with the Iran war? What do you guys think is going to happen with all of this? Because these are the statements right now. This was just 4 hours ago today. Alex Barnicoat, be sure to give him a follow. He's great.
Included in those 7 are 3 Turkish soldiers, meaning that even Turkey is on the verge of war with Iran because of this.
Start this over.
Some breaking news. Iran might have shot down a Qatari helicopter, and at least 7 soldiers are dead. And included in those 7 are 3 Turkish soldiers, meaning that even Turkey is on the verge of war with Iran because of this. So what's happened? Well, today, in joint exercises between Qatar and Turkey, a helicopter crashed. On board that Qatari helicopter was 4 Qatari service personnel, as well as that 1 Turkish soldier and 2 Turkish officials from a defense firm. Sadly, all of them were killed in the crash. The statement said, quote, "With the launch of search and rescue operations, the bodies of the martyrs have been reached." They also said, quote, "The exact cause of the crash will be determined following an investigation by Qatari authorities." Now, you need to know the official reason for this helicopter crash that we're being given the public at the moment is technical malfunction. We've all heard stuff like that before. It's very vague terminology for such a big thing. Helicopters shouldn't just fall out of the sky, especially not the world's most advanced helicopters. The Turkish President Erdogan even spoke on it because of how big a deal it was. And he said, quote, "My condolences to our country, our nation, and to the people of Qatar." Now, something important is that obviously this comes at the same time that Iran is carrying out attacks onto Qatar and Turkey officially, even though the Iran...
Remember, Qatar gives the United States a lot of money, a lot of our politicians' money, a lot of our journalists' money. So Qatar, that's a big reason Qatar is being targeted right now by Iran.
Denies them. And so a lot of people are saying...
Also, Qatar and obviously Saudi Arabia, they've basically sided with the United States and Israel on these strikes.
That Iran might have actually shot down this Qatari helicopter. Now, I want to make something clear. I am not saying that's a fact. I'm giving you the facts that Qatar say it's a technical malfunction. But because I'm unbiased, I have to give you the alternative view that some people are saying Iran might have shot it down. There is no evidence for that, and Iran has not claimed that they've shot it down. But due to the fact this comes at the same time, they're currently close to a war with Iran. It's not a crazy thought. But once we get some more details, then it'll become a bit clearer. So leave me a follow because I'm going to keep you up to date on everything that you need to know that you won't find anywhere else.
Yeah, be sure to give Alex Barnicoat a follow. He's great. They're really trying to censor his account. So if you're trying to cover the Iran war, you're trying to monitor the situation, then this is the best place to do it for sure. Alex Barnicoat is a great account to follow. Joe Kent. Step 1 in de-escalation must be restraining the Israelis. Otherwise, all efforts to negotiate will follow this pattern. POTUS publicly announces de-escalation as Israel takes major strides to destroy the negotiations, and it turns in weaker, and in turn weakens our ability to negotiate. The war accelerates. Yeah, so that's Joe Kent, who just got removed from Trump's administration by Trump, and that is because Joe Kent believes that Israel is getting the United States involved in this war with Iran. And so it's not advantageous for the United States to be involved in this war with Iran. Iran fully rejects Trump's claims. There has been no indirect or direct contact with President Trump. Officials accuse him of trying to buy time and claim that the U.S. halted strikes after a firm warning from Tehran. They also call his statements psychological warfare and reject any narrative of negotiations. Iran warns Hormuz will not return to pre-war conditions as long as this continues. Why it matters, two completely opposing narratives now. No talks versus productive talks, raising the risk of sudden escalation. And again, that comes directly from Reuters. So that's kind of why the oil markets are doing what they're doing, why they're behaving the way that they're behaving right now. One more clip. Just hours after a deadly crash at LaGuardia Airport, the FAA has issued a ground stop at Newark Liberty International Airport after reports that one of the air traffic control towers was evacuated. So let's take a look at this video. Again, be sure to smash that like button if you're liking this information.
Fox News alert,
support the
FAA
show.
just confirmed there's now at ground stop. There's now a ground stop at Newark Airport after one of the ATC towers had to be evacuated, meaning that 2 of the 3 major New York airport right now are shut down. Fox News alert, the FAA just...
So that's huge. Big news. Big news. Yeah, I don't know what you guys have to say about it, but to me, if you ask me, what things are looking like, I think we're definitely going to be in a 10, 20-year war with Iran at this point, unless we get out of there, unless we do a strategic retreat as the U.S. military. We need to strategically retreat and allow that sovereignty. The reason we don't want to, obviously, is because if we leave, then Israel controls the entire Triangle of Death. They control that Middle East area, which is specifically the Greater Israel Project. Then it allows them to basically do what they need to do with Lebanon, which is really the Israelis want to settle Lebanon just the way that they did with Gaza, and Hezbollah has been fighting them because of this. The Israelis are trying to take all of this unwarranted territory, right? Turkey, they've even said that they want to get Turkey now. And here with Ukraine, what do you think that's really about? You think it's just about lithium? You think it's just about Russian territory? No. This was all for Israel, because Israel wants to stretch up that land from the Greater Israel Project. They want to stretch it all the way up to Ukraine. So if by proxy America owns Ukraine, then Israel has that extra country on top of the other 7 regimes that it has changed within these last 5 years. Okay. SWIFT just gave the XRP Army the ultimate bull signal. Every bank named in their new retail payments framework is a Ripple partner. SWIFT's new global payments framework for consumer payments rollout, kicking off in 2026, shows that over 50 banks committed worldwide, 25 plus major corridors live or launching by June 2026. Key routes in India, UAE, Pakistan, Australia, UK, US, China, Thailand, plus more. And the promises show fixed predictable fees, full value delivery with no deductions, end-to-end traceability, fastest possible speeds with instant feasible, and ISO 2022 messaging. So again, the exact bank Swifting highlighted and quoted all confirmed RippleNet partners: AK Bank, Turkey's first Ripple blockchain payments adopter in 2017, ANZ, early Ripple protocol tester since 2015, now driving predictable/frictionless flows. Axis Bank, which is India's pioneer, live on RippleNet instant cross-border payments since 2017. And then you have Bank Al-Falah, which is Ripple-powered UAE to Pakistan remittances, live since 2021. The full participant list is loaded with even more Ripple connections: Standard R, BBVA, Standard Chartered, HDFC Bank, the ICICI Bank, State Bank of India, BNI, plus heavyweights like Bank of America, Citi, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, JP Morgan, and many with documented Ripple pilots, integrations, or RippleNet usage. Swift already routes 44 plus million messages daily across 11,500 plus institutions. This isn't competition. It's TradeFi quietly admitting Ripple's vision was correct and building directly on top of its existing bank network. XRP's real-world utility just got massive institutional-grade confirmation. The adoption is wave-breaking. And it is. So, again, it looks like Ripple's just kind of Ripple is taking the lead on a lot of the bigger stories happening today, right? So, what do you guys think about the market? What do you guys think is going on? The golden age of crypto rules. SEC Chairman Paul Atkins and CFTC Chairman Michael Saag have officially unveiled unified regulatory framework. So check this out.
By 461 after President Trump.
And then once we watch this, we'll wrap this video up.
That the U.S. and welcome back. A complete reversal of fortune this morning. Take a look at what has occurred. The Dow Industrial is now up 900 points. That's almost 2%. The S&P up 122, almost 2%, and the Nasdaq higher by 461 after President Trump posted on Truth Social that the U.S. and Iran have had a positive talks over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East, based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, the president says, which will continue throughout the week. I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. The president put that post out literally about 15 minutes ago, and as soon as that post hit, markets went from down 800 to up at its high 1,100 on the Dow Industrials.
Crazy.
Similarly,
market
oil
manipulation,
prices have
guys,
also
it's happening.
Course earlier, oil prices were up, and now oil prices are trading down in the double digits. The price of crude and the price of Brent down at the lows about 12% this morning. You are also seeing interest rates completely reverse. The 10-year was spiking about 5 basis points. It is now lower. The Commodities Futures Trading Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission, meanwhile, have issued new guidance clarifying how federal laws apply to crypto assets. Officials say the move defines which digital assets fall under securities laws, while signaling many crypto tokens could be treated as commodities. Regulators adding the guidance creates a clearer framework for investors and innovators as Washington moves to formalize the rules. Joining me now is the chairman of the CFTC, Michael Seelig. Mr. Chairman,
take a listen to this. This is an important,
Thank you so
important
much
message.
for being here this morning. We're watching this complete reversal of fortune. You've been watching markets for a long time. What's your take on what has just occurred, Mr. Chairman? You had the markets up, but you had the markets down sharply. The president comes out with this post that he's having these positive conversations with Iran, and he's pausing military strikes for a 5-day period. And now you got the Dow up 800 points.
Because even the market knows that no war with Iran is a good thing. No war with Iran is what will make the markets go up. Every time we hear news that there's no war with Iran, the markets shoot up. And then every time we hear that we're going to be bombing Iran, or every time we hear that we have bombed Iran or something like that, the markets go down.
It's certainly exciting to see the markets back where we want them to be as part of this golden age of financial markets that we're experiencing. And, you know, markets respond to positive information on the geopolitical scale. And at the CFTC, we're making sure that our markets have integrity and that these contracts continue to trade and we're able to manage risk.
And in terms of the regulatory framework, walk us through what this new framework means and what you are trying to do here in terms of in terms of specifically identifying what's a security and what is a commodity.
For far too long, the prior administration left crypto in limbo. The SEC under Gary Gensler, led by enforcement, drove many of these crypto firms offshore.
Yes, so true.
And this was really a tactic to create confusion as to what's a security and what's not under our regulatory framework and discourage.
XRP should honestly be easily, in my opinion, XRP should be way higher. Like $1.42 is robbery, it's theft. Bitcoin really shouldn't be. I think the prices should honestly be reversed. I think Bitcoin, maybe, yeah, I guess Bitcoin, because it was first, even though it was technically XRP. A lot of people don't know that. XRP did come before Bitcoin, but okay. You know, Bitcoin, I think, is first to, you know, be a prototype. Okay, and so I really think XRP ought to be at Ethereum's price right now, $2,170, and Ethereum should honestly be where XRP is. And so I think XRP has been completely mispriced. It's been completely priced out. When it comes to that, it's pricing, you know, it should be at least minimum $20 per token, minimum. But that's just kind of how I feel, especially when it's going to be handling all the money in the world. I think it has the potential to reach $70,000 per coin. Yeah, XRP honestly really should do that with how much better it is than Bitcoin. It's faster, it's better, it's newer. I've used both. I've used XRP on the XRP ledger. I've used it through Zaman. And honestly, I've used Bitcoin as well. And Bitcoin is slow. It's so outdated. And XRP is just fast. It's quick. Quick transactions, cross-border payments, 1,500 transactions a second. Has real use utility, use case. Again, unit of account, which is important. And it also has a CEO. It has a leadership team. It's not like Bitcoin where you don't even know who this random Satoshi guy is who supposedly may or may not have even created Bitcoin. And we also know that the Epstein files revealed that Bitcoin was essentially a project that was being run by Epstein. But who knows? What do you think will happen with Bitcoin versus Ethereum versus XRP in this entire market?
Creators, innovators, builders from developing their businesses here on shore. And so Chairman Atkins and I now have developed a new interpretation that will provide clarity once and for all as to what's a security and what's not, what's within the SEC's framework, what's within the CFTC's framework, and what types of offerings and sales of crypto assets implicate the securities laws. So for too long, when a company wants to come out and raise funds with a crypto asset, they weren't sure if they were subject to the securities laws. This framework lays out a really clear and simple roadmap for any company that wants to sell a crypto asset to raise capital, what their securities law obligations are,
that's good.
and then the status of the crypto asset, most importantly under the securities laws. We need to draw a distinction between the capital raising activity, which typically is subject to the securities laws, and the crypto assets themselves, which generally speaking aren't. These are a type of digital good that can trade just like any other type of commodity in our markets. And the SEC and CFTC are now harmonizing our approaches to regulating these digital assets.
Good.
It's also very important that we have legislation pending that this interpretation is intended to supplement and help in the interim as we're working through getting some future-proof legislation on the books.
So what is the difference in terms of the regulatory backdrop if you are a security versus a commodity? Tell us how it changes.
The 2-year Treasury yield is down 3.86%.
They are
wow.
different categories.
4.5 basis
points. What's the difference in the rulemaking?
This is a huge deal for the markets. Crypto assets that are subject to the securities laws would have to be registered and would have to be going through a process with the exchanges to be listed for trading. And of course, trading on exchanges brings a lot of disclosure and regulatory obligations. If we're able to separate out the crypto assets themselves, which are more akin to natural gas or oil or other types of commodities that can trade on the open market and over the counter, then we're able to limit the amount of regulatory overlay with respect to these assets. Really, this over-regulation, this securities law approach to defining things that really do not look like securities and trade much more akin to commodities, bringing that within the securities law framework would require companies to disclose all sorts of information about the board of directors and the company and so on and so forth. And this is going to hinder the ability of companies to bring these assets to market and to really innovate in this space.
Like XRP.
This interpretation
That's what they did to Ripple.
Once and for all.
But Ripple won. So now Ripple is a commodity.
Where the obligations under the securities laws begin, which is typically just with that initial sale of the crypto asset, and where they end when the promises and commitments of a company to engage in certain activities, certain essential managerial efforts to raise capital, to generate capital for the investor, when that ends. And when you buy a digital asset on the open market, you're not necessarily expecting to be buying a piece of a company or some sort of investable asset. You're buying something that's much more like a commodity where you're investing in the network, you're purchasing it for your own consumptive reasons and not to invest in the initial company that sold the asset. So we're making sure that's very clear in our regulations so that these companies can flourish here in the U.S.
Sure. Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, it's great to have you this morning. We so appreciate your work on this.
So that's the situation today on the markets, on the Iran war. There's a lot of big news out there. There's a lot of information, a lot of disinformation. But it appears to me, as we're looking through all of these stories, it is Bitcoin, it is XRP. The markets are reaction. Twitter X is reacting to Trump's statements on Iran, all of it, and whether or not that's even happening, right? Sneeko just said Trump is pretending like he's doing the art of the deal with the Iran leadership, but the IRGC made it clear they won't negotiate with terrorists. The U.S. is retreating to save the stock market. Prediction, Israel uses bombs and blackmail to bring us right back in. I absolutely believe that. That's a great post. Good job, Sneeko. I think that's good coverage, and I think that's absolutely what we're going to see. Again, we see illegal immigration happening all over the UK and Britain. We see total foreign occupation happening pretty much throughout all of Europe, right? So people are against the invasions that are going on in their countries, rightfully so. So what do you guys think about the markets? What do you guys think about where things are heading with the Iran war? What do you guys think about XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the Clarity Act, and what's really going to happen next? What do you guys think is coming? Okay, ultimately, I think that this is a big time for crypto. It's a big opportunity to really change your life, right? It's a big opportunity to become something that is actually worthwhile in an economy that is constantly a little bit shaky, especially in 2026. But notice something. What are the markets that are going down? Oil went down today. But when oil went down, and as all these other CEOs are selling their crypto, or not selling their crypto, they're selling their stocks in their own companies, they're buying Bitcoin and they're buying XRP. They're buying Ethereum. So think about what crypto is going to do, about what's going to happen with crypto. It is going to become the new financial infrastructure. And so Are you staying ahead of the future? That's why I cover this show. That's why I do this show. If you want to work with me as a real estate agent, you want to work with me as an entrepreneur, I'm also the CEO of Gold Shark Media AI. We build AI apps for entrepreneurs. We build AI systems. Depends on what you want to do, right? Whatever the project is. But work with me, and we will do that. Be sure to smash that subscribe button. Be sure to smash the like button. Share this video if you got any value out of it. And I will see you next time.